Layover at Gate 23. Airports make promises they can't keep. They promise movement, but mostly you wait. They promise arrivals, but some endings happen 2 seats over with a plastic cup of melted ice. I took our kids to surprise my wife during her business trip because 10-year-old Sophie had taped a paper heart to the fridge and written, "For Mom today." I thought, we'll fly, knock on her hotel room, and feel like a family who makes good decisions. We landed at 21:40. The terminal was colder than it needed to be, and I learned that some surprises change the wrong person. At home that morning, Sophie had asked if her mother would cry happy tears. Our teenager Anton had shrugged the way teenage boys shrug, like grief and hope are the same muscle. I said we were brave. I booked 3 tickets and left a note for my boss about a family emergency, which felt like lying until it didn't. My wife Marina was in Moscow attending a forum with people who use words like synergy without irony. She is a consultant, smart in suits, fierce in heels, the kind of person who can make a room take better notes. We had been married almost 20 years. Love ages the way cities do, new facades, same streets. I thought I knew the map. At the hotel, a young woman at the desk smiled as if she had practiced on mirrors. "We're here to surprise my wife," I said, proud of the sentence. She typed, nodded, and handed me 2 key cards. "She's in 718, she said, and then hesitated. "There are 2 guests registered in that room." The handle of my suitcase felt like a bone. "It must be a colleague," I said with a laugh that didn't belong to me. We rode the elevator in a brightness that refused to be warm. Sophie bounced. Anton watched the floor numbers like a countdown he wanted to finish quickly. At 718, I knocked. The door opened a slice, then wider. Marina stood there in a hotel robe, hair damp like the truth. Behind her, on the table, 2 pairs of shoes, none of them mine. She pulled me into the hallway fast, voice low, eyes louder. "Please," she said, "not in front of the kids." From her room a man appeared, tucking his shirt in one-handed, the way men do who believe in their luck. "It's not what you think," he said, which is what people say when it is. He tried to smile at me like we were the same species. "I didn't know she was married," he added, and my name changed from husband to lesson. I sent Anton to take his sister to our room with both keys. "Order burgers," I told him, "and cake." I stayed in the hallway where the carpet swallowed noise. "How long?" I asked. Marina looked at her feet, then the ceiling, as if the answer was somewhere that wasn't between us. "I don't know," she said. "People always know." She said words like mistake and lonely, and we stopped talking, and I listened to the way the words avoided me like I was the problem I had not solved. We sat in our room with burgers cooling on silver lids. Sophie told stories with mayo on her cheek. Anton watched me the way sons watch their fathers when they learn what a man is not allowed to do. Marina knocked later, perfect makeup, perfect everything, except for the fact that perfection is the last thing that happens before a break. She said she had an important dinner with clients. Sophie's face fell like a dropped spoon. "Tomorrow breakfast," Marina promised, and I said nothing because there's a kind of promise that is already a goodbye. After they slept, I walked the hotel like a ghost who paid for the room. I passed couples arguing in low voices, a man laughing too hard at his own joke, a receptionist tapping a pen against an invisible drum. At 23:10, I saw Marina in the lobby, not with clients but with the man from her room. He touched her wrist as if wrists had doors. I didn't make a scene. I watched the elevator number climb and thought about how some people fall up. In the morning, we flew home early, a flight that tasted like metal. Sophie slept on my shoulder. Anton stared at the wing as if it could explain lift and betrayal in the same paragraph. At baggage claim, he said, "Are you going to divorce Mom?" I said, "I don't know," because saying yes or no would have been a story I wasn't ready to live in. He nodded like a man, which he had started becoming somewhere over a dark field between borders. At home, I learned how quiet a house is when a secret has moved in and a person has moved out. Marina texted. She wrote long messages that used we in the past tense and I in the present. She asked to talk. I said later. Later is a place where people keep boxes they never open. A lawyer named S.H. Meleva met me in an office that smelled like paper and patience. She explained things about property and custody with the calm of someone who has guided many ships into unfamiliar harbors. "Do you want the house?" she asked. "I want the right to go home," I said. She made a small note as if those were the same thing in a language I didn't speak yet. Marina came by one afternoon in a storm. She stood in the kitchen where we had burned pancakes and cooled feverish foreheads and spoke like the weather had deputized her. She said she had ended it, that it was nothing, that nothing apparently wears cologne and forgets his tie in my wife's drawer. She cried, and I remembered the first time I saw her cry. On our wedding day, happy tears, a brave smile. The human face can perform many roles. The eyes are always telling the truth quietly. We didn't do a dramatic split. We did the kind where cups still end up in the wrong cabinet, and someone's scarf stays on a chair like it belongs to the furniture. Anton took up running in the evenings, long, punishing loops, and he came back with a new way of breathing. Sophie asked for a star projector and fell asleep under plastic constellations that kept their promises. I learned to cook better eggs. I taught myself how to sleep on only my side of the bed. On the day we signed papers, I brought my own pen because some rituals feel steadier when your hand recognizes its tools. Marina's hands shook. The clerk was kind, the way people are kind when they have seen this before. We stood outside in the gray afternoon and did not hug. We said we would be civil, and I believed us because the only alternative was to keep living in an airport where flights are always delayed. It's been months. The kids are okay in the way kids become okay when adults don't turn their hearts into weapons. Anton runs. Sophie puts paper hearts in places I will find them a day later. Sometimes I walk past the glass at our local mall where travel agencies still put posters of beaches in winter. I look at gate 23 in the reflection and think of that night, the young woman at the desk with her professional smile, the second key card she placed in my palm like a fact. Some doors open into rooms. Some doors open into stories you have to rewrite from the first sentence. Tell me which country you're watching from and your age. And if you're ever tempted to surprise someone, I hope the universe chooses better timing than it did for me.